Believe it or not, you don't need the Bible to realize that the gospel is the truth. Romans 1 verse 20 says, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse." What this means is actually pretty profound. Look around any day of the week and one thing is definitely clear. Nature is beautiful and everything is very well designed. At every level from the macro to the micro, it's truly astounding how it all comes into balance. And that's just it. Balance. You see, what this means is that the creator of the universe cares about things being harmonious, balance, and, well, ultimately, fair. Nature's harmony and beauty is a signature of God's character. And one obvious thing nature tells us about His character is that He's perfectly just. Another important clue comes from our conscience and sense of right and wrong. Did you know that we aren't the only creatures with a conscience or sense of morality? Many animals, in fact, have been recorded showing an internal sense of justice and even altruistic behavior towards not only their own kind, but other animals. This means that the author of all things is not only perfectly just, but also perfectly moral. He knows what is truly good and what is truly evil, and He alone calibrated every living being with an internal compass that would recognize these standards. The Bible says that God has written the laws on our hearts, and our highly sensitive conscience as human beings is a testament to the fact that we were made in His image. Now, what all of this boils down to is actually bad news. You see, if the all-powerful Creator is perfectly moral and cares about justice, we have a serious problem. Just like we can look around the world and see how beautiful nature is and infer these simple truths, we can also see how out of alignment everything is. People act immorally with one another, with animals, and with the world that God created every single day. Not only that, but we can look at our own lives and see a near endless track record of lying, cheating, stealing, worshiping money or other people, coveting, sexual immorality, and harming others and ourselves. If God is perfectly just and moral, which He is, and we've broken His laws countless times, the bad news is that justice will eventually be served. The Bible tells us that when Jesus returns, everyone will be resurrected, both those who believed and those who rejected Him. And what this means is that nobody will escape the scrutinizing, perfect eyes of God. The fact that God is perfectly just and moral is bad news for all of us, but that is exactly why the gospel is such good news. You see, for anyone who sincerely values their life, the big question is this, my friend. How can you and I reconcile ourselves back to God? Even though we're due just wrath, how can we make the slate clean and pay for our mistakes so that when Judgment Day comes, we can live? Every religion and spiritual path in history has tried to answer this monumental question, but ultimately they all fail for one simple reason. Today, if you had to go to any courtroom for committing a crime, the judge would demand that you pay if you're found guilty. Sometimes it's with money, sometimes it's with time, and sometimes it's even with your life. It doesn't matter how many good things you've done in your life, or how many good things you plan on doing. What matters is that the law has to be satisfied so that balance can return. In fact, that's why debt is often called a balance, why justice is depicted as having scales, and why so many ancient cultures believed in a judgment of some kind after death. But this is also why every religion in history has failed. The Vikings chased Valhalla, the Buddhists chase enlightenment, the Muslims chase paradise, the Jews chase endless sacrifices, and the New Age chases being your own God. Even within Christianity, people are still taught that their own efforts factor into their salvation, and they run endlessly after carrots that don't exist. Do you see something in common here? Trying to reconcile our relationship to the Creator with our own effort is an endless chase that leads nowhere. In other words, we can't pay the debt that we owe and satisfy the perfect law of the Creator. By the time we even realize there's a perfectly just and moral creator in the first place, our track record is established and we're due the death penalty before a holy and perfect being. This is why the gospel of Jesus Christ is such good news, and why you don't even need the Bible to know that it's true. Christ's message is the only one in history that solves this existential problem, and it does so through God's own work instead of our own. God himself came down to live a human life and take the penalty that all of humanity deserves on his own shoulders. Because of Jesus, God can legally transfer our debt to an infinite bank account, and come Judgment Day, we'll be found in good standing before his eyes and live forever. It's like someone walking into the courtroom and paying your fine, or in this case, giving their life for you when you deserve to die instead. This is true love, and it is why the gospel is the only message in history that answers our problem. Man is incapable of working out his own salvation, but the good news of the gospel is that God did the work for us. By our faith in this perfect work and in the person of Jesus, we are counted righteous, given a new heart with new desires that wants to please God. And by our faith, we're saved from the fearsome day when all of this will come to an end. So you see, my friend, you don't need the Bible to realize that the gospel is the truth. I hope you place your faith in Jesus today, and no matter what happens in the world, remember, the ending to this story is a good one. God bless.